motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. Things are heating up at 122 pounds as unbeaten up-and-comer from Poland and reigning EBU champion Lara Grzyb took to her own social media to react to the newly announced Jamie Mercado versus Ramla Ali fight. And she's not happy. She says something I don't understand. For a long time, the manager and the promoter work hard to make sure the date of the eliminator suits the opponent. It doesn't clash with holidays, aunt's birthday, or brother's trip. During this time, the number 7 ranked fighter will fight for the world title 3 positions behind me. What's going on with this boxing?
It's a voluntary title defense.
There's 2 things, 2 primarily. 1, this is a voluntary title defense, not a mandatory title defense. It's not based on who the highest ranked fighter is, because if it were, then it would be Dionysius getting the title shot, not Ramla and not Lara.
So one is that it's a voluntary title defense.
That Jamie Mercado is volunteering to defend her title against Ramla, and 2, it's because Matchroom are paying her to do it. Matchroom made her a good enough offer that she's willing to do it. So the question for Lara and her team is, have they made an offer to Jamie Mercado? Because if they haven't, then what are you complaining about?
Lara continued.
Yamilet Mercado, is this your maximum? Really? Don't be afraid and let's do the big fight. Big show, real defense, real opponent. Not like this. In the image seen here, you will see Ramla Ali sprawled across the ring after Julissa Guzman knocked her out in their initial meeting, in their initial fight. What Lara isn't saying is that Ramla did win the rematch. She avenged that loss.
I have a solution.
Lara can fight the winner, whoever the winner is. Now, I anticipate that the winner is going to be Ramla Ali, that Ramla is going to lift the WBC title off of Jamie Mercado, and she will become WBC champion. When she does, Lara can fight her. Now, if Lara doesn't want to wait...
If she wants a title shot now...
I understand. The WBC champion's busy. The WBA champion, Erica Cruz, she's all entangled in this doping fiasco, so she's unavailable. But there still is Ellie Scottney.
With Catford.
Did you forget about Ellie Scottney? Did you forget that she's got not 1, but 2 alphabet titles? That, unlike Jamie Mercado, and unlike Erica Cruz,
she's unified.
Ellie is a unified champion. Unified Ring Magazine champion at this weight. You can fight her if you want a title shot sooner rather than later. To my knowledge, Ellie isn't otherwise preoccupied with anything. So you can fight her, you can pursue her.
Go for it.
I've been watching Lara Grzyb for years. She's one of the more talented, unbeaten up-and-comers coming through the ranks at this weight. She's really good. But I get the sense that the reason she's putting so much pressure on Jamie is because she views Jamie as being more beatable than some of the other champions at this weight.
She wants her title.
Her specifically. Because in all the time that I've been watching Lara Grzyb, I never saw her call out a champion by name, and there have been quite a few at this weight. I never saw her call out Mayerline Rivas when she was WBA champion, or the woman that beat her, Erica Cruz. I never saw her call out Sigaline Lafarve, or the woman that beat her, Ellie Scottney. I never saw her call out Shernika Johnson, or the woman who beat her, once again, Ellie Scottney. That titles have been changing hands at this weight for years, and all the while, I never saw Lara target someone specifically, but now she is.
Maybe she didn't feel ready before, but she feels ready now. Maybe that's what it is, and that's fair.
And maybe she's got a point about a fighter getting a title shot. A fighter who's ranked behind her when she feels the title shot should have went to her, but the only reason that fighter's getting a shot is because they're paying to play. Their promoter made Jamie an offer. Did your promoter make Jamie an offer? Because if they didn't,
you gotta wait.
I'm glad to see that Lara Grzyb is now deciding to focus on alphabet titles, becoming a full-fledged world champion. Currently, she's EBU champion, and it sounds like she's ready to take the next step.
It's good.
It's not a bad thing. But let's get one thing straight. In this business, you have to pay to play. Ramla's promoter did. If yours didn't...
Tough break, kid.
Lara doesn't view Ramla as a real opponent or a real challenge for Jamie Mercado. But what happens if Ramla wins?
Yeah, Julissa Guzman knocked her out, but you ain't Julissa Guzman. You don't punch like Julissa Guzman.
No.
Lara's a good boxer, but she doesn't knock people out.
Wouldn't give Ramla a hard time that she got stopped in their initial meeting when if you fought Julissa, you might get stopped.
Listen,
Look, it's simple. Lara wants a title shot, so I propose that if Ramla wins, she fights her.
before the year is out.
She fights her as her first defense of the WBC title, provided the WBC doesn't bog her down with a mandatory.
Ali versus Grzyb is a great fight, by the way, so it's an easy fix.
In men's welterweight news, it's official. Jaron Enis is now set to defend his newly obtained IBF title against seasoned veteran from Russia, David Avanesyan, next month on 13th. A late replacement, sorta late. Jaron Enis will now defend his IBF welterweight title versus David Avanesyan on July 13th in Philadelphia Matchroom Boxing, announced on Tuesday. Avanesyan steps in to replace mandatory challenger Cody Crowley, who withdrew last week after he wasn't medically cleared following double eye surgery in November. The 35-year-old Russian native is ESPN's number 8 welterweight, number 8 in the division. Avanesyan returned in November with a 4th-round TKO victory against an opponent with a record of 11 wins with 55 losses and 3 draws, a journeyman. His first fight since he was spectacularly knocked out by Terence Crawford in the 6th round of their December 2022 bout.
Sheesh, that was almost 2 years ago.
When I received the call to go into a tremendous battle with such a highly rated fighter, I did not need to be asked twice, especially when it's for a world title, said Avanesyan, who fights out of England. This is my last world title chance, and I have to take it. I do respect Enis and his career, and he has been perfect, but he has what I want and need. Avanesyan defeated a faded version of Hall of Famer Sugar Shane Mosley back in 2016 for the WBA interim welterweight title. He was then elevated to full champion ahead of his first defense with Lamont Peterson, which he lost via a decision. Avanesyan has already faced the best welterweight in the world in Terence Crawford, and now he will fight Enis, who hopes to take the top spot at 147.
I remember people actually criticized Terence Crawford for fighting this guy, when all it was a keep busy fight.
Things weren't working out with Errol, negotiations fell apart, so he kept busy with David Avanesyan. If he was good enough for Terence Crawford, he's good enough for Jaron Enis, in my book. No complaints from me. Enis, ESPN's number 3 welterweight, is a rising star who signed a multi-fight deal with Matchroom in April of this year. The 26-year-old previously fought exclusively on Showtime, which ceased sports programming at the end of last year. Now that Enis is linked with a major promoter, he's hoping to establish himself as an attraction in Philadelphia, a city rich with boxing history and once a hotbed for the sport. Everybody in Philly's been waiting for this. Enis told ESPN in April in New York, there hasn't been a fight in Philly in a while, or even a big fight. Nobody's fought at the Wells Fargo Center yet. They haven't had a big fight in Philadelphia in a long time. Enis himself hasn't fought in Philadelphia since November of 2018 when he was still a top prospect. Enis was elevated to champion back in November when Crawford was stripped by the IBF. With Crawford and Spence, ESPN's top 2 welterweights, both now campaigning at 154, Enis is in a position to take control of the division. Enis last fought in July when he scored a 10th round knockout over Roman Villa. Now that Crowley is officially not my opponent, I actually like Avanesyan better. As a better opponent, said Enis. He will put up a better fight, which will be what I want.
He's more tested at this level.
More so than Cody Crowley, David Avanesyan has more experience against world-level fighters than Cody Crowley does. That's why I'm not complaining. In tandem with this being a late replacement, it was supposed to be Crowley, and it was supposed to be Crowley because the IBF ordered it.
Remember, this is not a voluntary title defense. This is not a handpick.
Or it wasn't gonna be. The only reason Jaron Enis was gonna fight Crowley is because the IBF ordered him to fight Crowley. But now that Crowley's out, David is in. And I don't mind it because I do view David as a better opponent than Cody Crowley. That if it came down to David Avanesyan versus Cody Crowley, I think David would win.
I think David's a better opponent for Jaron Enis than Cody Crowley. I think it's going to end the same way. Cody Crowley, David Avanesyan, he knocks them both out.
But people are forgetting what the attraction here really is. The attraction isn't Jaron Enis versus this guy or that guy. It's not about the opponent. It's about the homecoming that Jaron Enis will be fighting in front of his fans in Philadelphia for the first time in a long time.
That's the selling point.
That's the advantage of having a major promoter behind you, a real promoter and not just a glorified booking agent. You see the speed at which they were able to find a replacement for Jaron Ennis, accenting their commitment to this fighter, their investment. They're going to deliver for him. They're going to deliver him a hometown fight. They're going to let him fight in front of his hometown fans and build that grassroots following. The hope that they can once again turn Philadelphia into a fight town.
Like it used to be.
A hotbed for boxing, because Philadelphia was once one of the preeminent boxing scenes domestically here in America. That interest has dwindled in recent years, but with a fighter like Jaron Ennis, they can revive that boxing scene in that area if they base him out of there and they do his smaller fights there, the keep busy fights, the mandatories.
In between the bigger fights, you can do the smaller ones in Philadelphia.
And don't forget that the night of the fight, it will have been a year's time since the Roman Villa fight. It will have literally been a year's time since Jaron Ennis' last fight. So it's about getting him out there and getting him active. Not so much who he's fighting right now, but just fighting. Get him fighting.
That's the priority.
This is a good opponent choice, and I imagine that the David Avanesyan fight is going to look a lot like the Roman Villa fight, because David, like Roman, he's an aggressive guy, a mid-range guy, a volume guy. He likes to throw punches and bunches, get in front of his opponent, and unload. And Jaron Ennis is not the guy you want to do that to. So this is going to work out for David how it worked out for Roman.
He's getting knocked out.
Jaron Ennis is going to style on this guy. The same way he styled on Roman Villa, how good he looked in that fight, he's going to look good in this one.
David Benavidez, he's moving up to light heavyweight, but he's made it known that he wants to go beyond light heavyweight. Do you foresee him in the future at all as like a big money fight for you that can get you to the States and you guys pack an arena somewhere in the U.S. against David Benavidez in the future?
Yeah, for sure, man. If he wants to come up to cruiserweight, bring it on. You know, cruiserweight's my division. Yeah. You know, until I move out of it, bro, come and get it.
It's a response I expect to hear from one as intense as Jai Opetaia, one as capable, one as visceral, one as dangerous as Jai Opetaia. For any newcomer, any newbie to the cruiserweight division, he would like to welcome them. But would David like to be welcomed?
Fuck no.
No way. Yeah, he might have told Henry Cejudo and Chevy Camaro Usman that one day he wants to go to cruiserweight.
But that day ain't the day. And when that day comes, it ain't for Jai Opetaia. It's not for the winner of Chris Billam-Smith versus Richard Riakporhe or Noel Gavor. He likely has Zurdo Ramirez on his mind, because Zurdo Ramirez, like David Benavidez, used to campaign at 168, used to campaign at 175. He tells himself that if that guy can do it, then I can do it.
But can he?
I give Zurdo a lot of credit. I do give Zurdo a lot of credit for becoming WBA Cruiserweight Champion, but it wasn't without some angling.
For starters, the Cruiserweight champion that he fought, Arsen Goulamarian, unbeaten at the time, was inactive. He was inactive for about a year going into that fight with Zurdo Ramirez. There's that to consider. There's also the changes that Zurdo had to make. At 168 and 175, Zurdo was a mid-range to inside pressure fighter.
Just like David.
He's not those things now, and you noticed it almost immediately in what was Zurdo's cruiserweight debut. He didn't stand in the pocket and trade with Joe Smith Jr. or Arsen Goulamarian. No, he was moving lateral, boxing and moving.
Wasn't standing in one spot. That's not how he used to fight, but that's how he started to fight at cruiserweight. Why?
Because you can't out-muscle guys anymore. You don't have the size advantage over those cruiserweights that you had over those super middles or those light heavies. At cruiser, the guys are just as big, if not bigger than you, and stronger. So you're gonna have to change things. David!
He'd have to change things.
He would likely have to make the same alterations, the same changes that Zurdo Ramirez did. And even then it's dicey, because Zurdo had the good fortune of getting Arsen Goulamarian in the ring. A guy who's inactive enough,
right,
and limited enough,
right,
that Zurdo could beat him, that Zurdo could lift his WBA title from him. And I'm no Monday morning quarterback. I said it ahead of the fight. I think Zurdo outpoints this guy by moving and punching and boxing, not sitting in the pocket and trading punches, but using the ring. That's what he did. That's how he won, and that's what David would have to do.
I'm not even sure he can do it.
He's still bringing up Canelo, talking up a Canelo fight on the eve of what is his light heavyweight debut. Are his eyes not on the ball? You're not fighting Canelo, and you're not fighting at super middleweight. You're at light heavyweight now.
What are you still thinking about that guy for?
His loser fans are still bellyaching as much as he is in the comments of my videos. One loser,
bozo,
that goes by the name 38 Alpha, as says, Not sure if you're dumb or just a hater. Canelo is a megastar. Why else would any popular YouTube channel want to talk about Canelo versus Benavidez? Because it's big. Why else would David want to fight Canelo? It's because beating the face of boxing is the biggest thing he can do for his career.
Speaking of beating Canelo Alvarez, you know who already beat Canelo Alvarez?
Who?
Dimitri Bivol.
That's right, he did.
Speaking of Dimitri Bivol, you know who just moved up to the same division where Dimitri Bivol campaigned?
Who?
David Benavidez. He's making his light heavyweight debut this weekend, so ask yourself a question.
What?
If Dimitri Bivol already beat the man,
You know how they say you have to beat the man to be the man? Well, Dimitri already beat the man.
and now you're campaigning at Dimitri's weight. You who said you think you could beat Dimitri. You who said you think you could stop Dimitri.
Here's your chance. Turkey Al-Sheikh is not only offering you a crack at the winner of that fight, but the winner of that fight will be an undisputed champion, the same as Canelo Alvarez.
And the money?
Turkey Al-Sheikh is paying out the best money in boxing right now. So money is not an issue. Money is not a problem. Belts are not a problem. Opportunity is not a problem. And what are you still talking about?
Canelo.
So that some pole-smoking fanboy can tell me I'm gaslighting my subscribers by going down the facts of the matter. The fact of the matter is, David's fighting at 175 this weekend. Turkey offered him the winner of Better B versus Bivol. And what's he talking about?
Canelo.
Well, according to you, Canelo is scared, and he's not going to fight you anyway. So what are you still stuck on that for? I know why you're stuck on it. Because you're the one that's scared. Because you don't want to fight guys your own size. You don't really want to do the dance with those light heavyweights.
Let alone the cruisers.
Your fans, like 38 Alpha has, they're scared too. They're scared with you, scared for you, because as soon as you lose...
Not a monster anymore.
Hey, 38, I know you're listening.
Hey.
I got a question.
Hey.
How many times do you have to be wrong before you learn to shut the fuck up?
When are you gonna shut the fuck up?
What do you want me to do? Watch you give David Benavidez a rim job in the comments under my videos? You're mad because I'm pointing out the facts?
Get off his dick.
Get off mine. In David Benavidez, you have a fighter who admitted on camera he walks around at 200 pounds. So if we call it 200 even, you're telling me you've been cutting 32 pounds to get down to 168? Why? Why didn't you go to light heavyweight sooner?
So at the start of a camp, this guy's a fucking cruiserweight.
Now I see why you're nervous. I see why he's nervous too, because you're debuting at light heavyweight this weekend, but you're still stuck on a super middleweight.
You don't want to be up there, but you don't have much of a choice because you've outgrown the weight.